Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. We are currently doing the exceptional story for July, Paisley. And after much thought, I've decided that I think I am going to report to Concord Square. We're going to work with the constables on this one because that's just who I prefer. Do I have to go through all of this again? Ooh, we can attempt to open the evidence locker. We read all this in the last time, so let's ask about the murder victim. Paisley clears. Okay, ask if you can help with the investigation. You've pledged your service to Concord Square. Let them use it. That's what I'd hoped you'd say, said the supervising detective. She blows smoke and stubs out her cigar. Unfortunately, my superiors won't sanction a more active investigation, but the Velocipede Squad has its way around regulations, doesn't it? My men already combed the Anti-Mr. That's where the murder happened, but they don't have your relationship with Bohemian Apparel. You might have more luck with the victim too. She rummages in her desk for another cigar. Only a few left, she mutters. We'll have to raid a tobacconist soon. Oh wow, that doesn't bode well to non-corrupt officials, does it? Well, we gained 2 favours with the constables, which is always useful. Back into the fog. So we can attend a performance at the Anti-Mr. This week they're performing the expurgated. Which they're lucky to perform at all, after the Ministry of Public Decency had its way with the script and the author. Although people on the pavement are gossiping more about the recent murder than the show. No, the show isn't that bad. 4 deaths on an opening night is still the record. Let's buy a ticket and get inside. The attendant at the box office is eyeing your outfit warily. I'm afraid the show's sold out, says the attendant with a sniff. Sold out? But didn't the leading lady quit? And the reviews? Why, there are still rotten mushrooms splattered across the marquee. Regrettable circumstances which can be attributed entirely to the recent scandal. So you'll understand why we're not selling tickets to anyone foolhardily enough to dress like a recent murder victim. We can't afford to scrub out more. Let's call them mushroom stains. Okay, so if we want to get inside, we're going to have to take off our gloves, I believe. How does our outfit look? Consider my appearance. No? It's not the right one. Ah! You don't do it through here, do you? You do it with the possessions tab, because I'm a moron. Let's take off the paisley glove, let's put on our pair of ladies' gloves, and let's carry on continuously. Let's prepare to go outside again. Finish your preparations. I appear to have lost the cinema. The Anti-Mr Theatre in Vale Garden. I am an imbecile. I put the glove back on thinking that might be what the problem is, but no, I'm just not reading. Vale Garden. Here we go. Attend a performance at the Anti-Mr. Will you sell me a ticket now, my dear fellow? You're not the type to wear... No, never mind, says the attendant. But when he hands you a ticket, you have to tug it from his fingertips. It's just we've had some rather nasty business recently. Fashion trends gone awry, as it were. Our leading lady even packed her bags. You can still feel his gaze on your back when you enter. Laughter bubbles from the audience. This is either a comedy or a very ineffectual drama. Concord Square already searched the theatre, but if you can locate the crime scene, perhaps you'll gain another perspective. I mean, we can watch the performance. After all, you did buy the ticket. But let's start up here first. According to one reviewer, as a text for criticism, it is barren and delusive. And that was before half the lines were trimmed out and the other half suppressed. Naturally, this increased the play's stock in assorted bohemian spheres. The actors are making the best of it. You'll never heard such lively interpretations of non-existent dialogue. Amazing. Let's watch the performance. There's absolutely nothing here, and it is polished to a shine, as though the playwright had taken emptiness itself as an oyster takes a grain of sand and grown a dazzling pearl around that void. You can see why the play was censored. There's too much to recognise about society upon this stage, and the costumes are rather good too. Right, let's find the crime scene. Quietly. People are trying to watch a show, for heaven's sake. After crawling on your hands and knees to avoid obscuring a grand dame's view through her opera glasses, you discover a roped-off theatre box. Well, well. No admittance except on police business. You're here on police business, aren't you? Yes. One lifted rope later, and you're standing inside the crime scene. Here's where the deceased dandy must have been sitting when he was shot. You realise the assassin probably approached the same way, from the back, with a pistol, while the victim was watching the stage. There are stains on the velvet cushions. Okay, so we can study the crime scene. The deceased dandy's private theatre box is still preserved. These stains are not blood. They smell like the sweetest sugar. Oh, these are from a blancmange. And not just any blancmange. This was a Murgatroyd's premium fungal blancmange. There could be no mistake with those patented faux almond flakes. You follow their trail to the theatre box's door and discover creamy handprints on the frame. Perhaps the killer was lurking here before the assassination, studying the victim, taking aim, and eating a Murgatroyd's premium fungal blancmange. Only the lowest scoundrel would involve an innocent blancmange in a murder. Oh, sit in the victim's seat. Attempt to view the crime scene from another perspective. Let's hope we don't get shot. You settle down into the seat. It's a comfortable seat, despite the grisly memories that must have soaked into its cushions, along with these curious stains. From this vantage point, you can see the stage exceptionally well, and you also cannot see the doorway leading back into the hall. Indeed, if you were the inattentive type, it would be very easy to notice nothing whatsoever about an assassin sneaking up behind you. Can we put our Paisley glove back on? Does that open anything up? What about now? You settle down into the seat. This feels right, as though you've been here before. But you also have a nagging memory, as though you've forgotten a kettle back home on the hob, or a coin purse at some restaurant, or a handkerchief at this very theatre. Your lost handkerchief slithers onto your lap. How could you have forgotten it? Of course, it was hiding between the cushions, but now it's yours again, and you suddenly snap to attention. You didn't forget anything. You'll need to speak to the deceased dandy and demand to know more about these curious personal effects. We now have a Paisley handkerchief. Wonder if we'll learn anything if we study the crime scene. Nope, it's the same as it was before. Consider our wardrobe choices. How does your outfit look? Starting to think that this doesn't help me very much. Turn away from the glass, return to the performance. Okay. Well, we'll leave through the stage door. Actors are gossiping backstage. They can't blame Miss V for leaving. She had to consider her career. They'll have to consider theirs too. Besides, what can anyone do without a script? Even when they had the script, there was no script. By the way, they won't mind if you take this handbag, will they? And prop open the stage door? And prop, indeed. That handbag was a prop until it got expurgated. Let's go speak to the dandy, I suppose. He was in Lady Bones Road, was he? Yes, at the Twiddle Thumb Club. Let's knock. Fresh-faced young man. Yes, we've read all this. Let's discuss the Anti-Massar's current show. it might be good to have a serious opinion, if the opinion is trivial enough. Everyone in the club can agree that the show is superb. Only a great playwright could have penned lines that mean more by meaning less. It's a shame that Miss V left the cast. When it comes to breathing life back into censored dialogue, there's no better performer in Vale Garden living today, or under more surveillance by the Ministry of Public Decency. One club member shows you an autographed program with Love, Irene, from her last engagement. You can tell it's authentic because half of the text is blacked out. Wonderful. Let's speak with the deceased dandy. You wouldn't happen to know a certain supervising detective, would you? Concord Square keeps sending people around, says the deceased dandy. I've told them everything I can about my murder, which is precisely nothing. Rather charitable, I thought. I hold nothing in high regard myself, but the constables are not artists. They insist upon discussing tedious things like motivation, which a true artist would never consider important. The only point, in fact, upon which the constables are dependable is how thoroughly undependable they are. I would much prefer to confide nothing in you. After all, you're wearing Paisley. Okay. Hey look, the Paisley handkerchief. We can wear that as a weapon. Flap it in their faces. No, he doesn't want to talk to us because we're wearing Paisley. So maybe if we take off all of the Paisley, we'll get a different thing. I don't actually remember what I was wearing. Was it the scones? A plate of scandalously buttered scones? I think it was. Okay, let's speak to him now. My dear interloper, you must have the wrong address. You are wearing nothing, let me repeat nothing, that would recommend you into this club, says the deceased dandy, and I fear we value nothing far too greatly to have it standing about in such an open state. What is valuable should be kept hidden. If you would remove yourself, therefore, to an appropriately invisible location, you would provide much relief. Okay, let's put on more dandy. There we go. It's not more dandy. More Paisley. Close. Paisley glove and handkerchief. I see you've collected my handkerchief too. Or did it collect you? Did this Paisley indeed collect you? That's a question you'd like to discuss, along with why your thoughts don't feel entirely your own. Nobody's thoughts are entirely their own, says the deceased dandy. Ideas all come second-hand from other people, which is why, in order to think for yourself, the only thing to do is to stop thinking. I've managed it quite beautifully, although I still struggle sometimes, at the moment for example. This conversation involves the most unseemingly mental exertion. You suddenly know for a fact that he is withholding information, unless your Paisley knows it. In either case, you're not finished talking. Oh dear, I recognize that look in your eye. Determination, persistence. I saw it in my own before the play, when I was adjusting my outfit in the mirror. I suppose there's no denying that this Paisley has particular effects, although it's a subject I'd rather avoid. In that aspect, it's no different than any subject, but now you're wearing more Paisley yourself. It's unavoidable. If we ask him about the play, his opinion might shed more light on his death. It is a marvellous play, isn't it? And Miss V is such a marvellous actor. Of course, she's not performing anymore, but on opening night, it was vital for me to wear something that she would notice. I commissioned this Paisley especially for the event. Pinstripes weren't bold enough. Polka dots might have been, but polka dots are even worse than murder. When you ask why he wanted to draw attention, his eyebrows ascend in disbelief. My friend, why does anyone attend the theatre except to be noticed by other people? Got a point. Okay, so let's ask him about the Paisley. What does he want to avoid discussing? It is very assertive Paisley, as you've noticed. More willful than a typical pattern. More insinuating around an identity's edges. The more you wear, the more you're being worn. You see, it doesn't simply have a personality, it requires a host to express itself fully. What you feel when you wear it, what you remember, is what I felt too. And you're not feeling nothing, are you? On the contrary, you're feeling something, which is too much to feel for my taste. Where did you get the outfit? Although sentient clothes can be found in the Fifth City, they aren't manufactured here. Now that you mention it, I never tried to purchase sentient clothes. Any living apparel you find in the shops is an import from Polythreme, but my outfit was custom made right here in London, at very cheap expense. All I needed to pay was money, and what has less value than that? Of course, I had to pay a lot. I did say very cheap. My Paisley came from the Flowerdine factory in Spite. Perhaps you know the manager, Mr. Vales. He absently touches the bullet hole in his forehead. Does this information matter? Ooh, let's go investigate the Flowerdine factory. Doesn't this sound fun? Let's step back outside. That's Spite, right? The Flowerdine factory. London's finest fabrics flow from its worst neighbourhoods. It isn't polite to mention the textile mills, or the urchins whose fingers are lost in the looms, when discussing the latest fashions. It isn't polite to mention these things when discussing Soteal reform either. In fact, it is never polite. The masters would kindly appreciate if you looked the other way. Well, we have to enter the factory. You will not look the other way today. Today is not a normal workday at the factory. No watchman is at the door. You wander through rooms where urchins are unravelling perfectly good fabric, combing loose threads to pick out... What? Your eyes blister as chemical vapours waft from giant tubs, where more laundry is being scoured, bleached, drowned in steaming batches. You walk deeper inside. Timbers shake, your bones quake with industrial thunder. Machines stretch ahead, knitting, cutting, spinning, weaving with gigantic metal arms that hook and pull cascading thread. Urchins scramble through their innards, and far down the droning line, where the shadows gather and the silk shimmers, something dark and hooded moves. Pulverized cotton covers the floor as thick as snow. Don't drop a match. Let's speak with the urchins. You picked a rotten time to visit. Management ain't pleased. Oh, this is gonna hurt, isn't it? What is my wounds? The fact that it's making me think about my wounds means that it's probably going to be painful. No, I think we're okay. They tell you, in voices so low that you must read their lips, what they've been commanded to do. Unravel the patterns they normally weave, tease out the fibres from each tapestry, and beat the brocades into complete and total submission. You watch as one group fumigates the looms, pumping noxious gas across the flax. That sounds like there may be an infestation in the looms here. Let's demand to speak with the manager. If anyone knows about your Paisley, the master in charge here would know. Oh, you unlock this with your ambition to bag a legend. Okay. You shout for the master's attention, but your Paisley is shouting louder. Now the master lifts its head and inhales with great flared nostrils. As your scent, it knows that you are here, and it is here with you. It is everywhere around the factory, veiled in velvet, and closer until even the screaming machines are just a distant hum outside the circle where you stand, surrounded by its billowing black sleeves. You feel its breath. It stings your skin. It snorts. "Paisley," says Mr. Vales. "Where did you get this pattern?" Everyone in London knows that Mr. Vales is rarely in its shops or factories. You've either caught it on a good occasion or a spectacularly horrible one. By the manner in which it is gathering yards and yards of priceless silk and absent-mindedly ripping them into ribbons while it gnashes its fangs above your head, you would guess the latter. Let's start by talking about the Paisley. Mr. Vales is staring at the fabric as a hawk would watch a rabbit. "Fabric," says Mr. Vales. "So subtle, changeable. It is closer to you than clothing. Wear it. Become something else. Its saliva drips down your neck. Don't wear it. Become something else. Its veils brush your face, and suddenly you are the rabbit, and it is the hawk, and this city is the hinterland, where hawks can fall on rabbits and claws can slice through fabric, and identities can be shredded as easily as gauze. There is no greater slaughter, hisses Mr. Veils, than the fashion season. Is that what you wanted to speak about, little rabbit? Well, isn't that terrifying? Let's speak about the deceased dandy. Perhaps it knows something about the man who ordered this pattern. Him, says Mr. Veils. Yes, now I know where you got that Paisley. Speak about the crime? If it recognizes your outfit, it may have knowledge about the murder too. What is dead hardly matters. What is alive, that's the crime. The master shreds even more silk into tatters. No fabric should be alive. Not here, not without my consent. With every word it rips another strip. But I have the means and ways to work around this little rebellion. Even if Concord Square fails, there are more efficient agencies. Now it is ripping the strips into strips until the silk is no more than a mutilated cloud, just particles drifting down to the floor. Okay, let's speak about the factory. Why are operations here in such upheaval? How dare you, says Mr. Veils. This is my domain. By the edge in its voice, which runs down your spine like scissors through satin, you doubt it only means the factory. I could unmake you. You doubt, in fact, that it's talking to you. Its gaze is still focused upon the Paisley. Its claws flash like knitting needles. Then they retract, and the master draws back. Some things even I should not touch, says Mr. Veils. Be about your business. Enjoy the season. There are so many pretty styles, are there not? Let them distract you. Mr. Veils leaves your side, and the urchins watch with quiet attention. There's a few more options here. There's a small part of me that wants to try operating the machine. Surely it can't be that dangerous. The fact that it says do not attempt this, it is not necessary to complete the story. If you fail, your wounds will be significant. If you succeed, you will only have a few silk scraps to show for it. Spend a hard-learned lesson. Please don't kill me. I failed. Please don't kill me. Oh! Ouch. Now you can see why they only employ urchins. If it can be called employment when the urchins aren't paid. Well, speaking of urchins, let's sneak in aside with the urchins. Psst, don't leave yet. We've got something that might interest you. Follow us. They lead you into a dark room, where carpets and cashmeres are shackled in chains. They open a locked steamer trunk and pull out a trembling Paisley suit. Got nabbed, whispers one of the urchins. When it crawled back into the factory, tried to escape. Big mistake. Master's just been holding it for now. Don't want to get their mitts dirty. Something about, what's it called again? Maintaining diplomatic relations, whispers another urchin. Right, diplomatic relations with Polythreme. But us urchins got our own diplomatic relations with the masters. Go on then, take it. Just don't tell a soul. This right here, this is espionage. Ooh, we got ourselves a lovely Paisley suit. In fashionable circles, this would be called distressed fabric. And the real question is, what do we do with the suit? I assume we put it on. So we have gloves. All we need now is the boots and the mask, if there is one, or the hat. A hat. But this does seem like a good place for me to end the second episode here. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.